I almost titled this video After Dark, but I didn't think the point would get across. Trying to keep to the short titles, and I'm doing a fairly good job with that. I want to talk about street fighting, and that doesn't have to be in a street. It can be in a bar or a public place or whatever. The street is just a place, and a lot of fist fights do happen out on the streets, especially around bars or liquor stores, and especially after dark. At one time, in my heyday or low point, depending on which way you want to look at it, I had an old timer tell me, he said, nothing good happens after dark. Well, I thought that was the darndest thing I'd ever heard. It's like, what are you talking about? And the way I was living my life at the time, all the fun stuff happened after dark. The fun stuff. Fist fights and meeting girls and midnight rodeos and, that's when things start popping. And things start popping, all right. I'm well aware of the version that you get of watching this right now as of a skinny old man that, you're talking about. This guy is old. And you're not wrong. I am old. And I'm well aware of the physical decline that I've experienced as well. There was a time, believe it or not, like say this picture, this was about, age 26, 27, something like that. It's not a pose, that's just how I looked at the time. And I mixed it up pretty good when I was a younger guy. And I also am aware that basically, especially with men, everybody thinks they either are or were a tough guy at some point, or, I don't know, you better watch out, I can hold my own. The thing with being young, and especially with being male, is that you get in this testosterone and drive, and your chemicals are all out of whack because you're doing all this growth. And sooner or later, it's kind of like a sports car. You kind of want to test that out. The trouble with that is, or at least in the event of fist fighting, it's a horrible idea. You should be aware up front, even if you're the winner, you will get hurt. You are going to get hurt. Even if you totally dominate a fight, at a minimum, your hands are going to take a beating from the beating that you've issued. There's also the old saying, oh, nobody wins a fist fight. That's absurd. There's a winner and there's a loser in almost every fist fight. It's something that, I don't know who made that up. Somebody that didn't like violence or didn't ever participate in violence and probably had never seen any violence firsthand. But make no mistake, you are going to get hurt. And that's your best case scenario. Let's say the fight's going your way and you slip off a curb and twist an ankle. Now you're fighting on one leg. Let's say somebody pulls out a knife or pulls out a gun. Or you think it's over and you're hanging around, bragging it up. Y'all see that? See how that went down? That's what I'm talking about. And they go to their vehicle and they get an accessory. Now we got problems on our hands. Let's say there's bystanders that become active participants. And movies aside, there isn't too many guys that can take on two, especially not more than 3, 4 guys, and come out on top. I know that the movies are the movies. They're works of fiction is what they are. And you need to get that notion out of your head. There's risks associated with this. Possible jail time, possible prison time, possible murder, definitely assault. Are you willing to risk a prison term or a jail term, altering the entirety of your life now, at a minimum for a brief period? But if you have a felony conviction, that does a lot of things that you can't easily overcome. There's lawsuits, monetary damages and penalties, probation. There's cameras everywhere now. Times are different. They were just really starting to pop on the cameras when I was a young man, but they were not very good quality. There'd be grainy footage, that'd be from a long way away, and there weren't that many of them. The first thing everybody wants to do now is whip out their cell phone with a camera on and film the fist fight so they can post it. And make no mistake, these things are potential pitfalls if you win. They can find you anywhere. If somebody wants to find you bad enough, they can find you. I'm pretty sure just about every one of those people that went in the Capitol building on J6, I'm pretty sure they found them. These are just random trespassers is all it amounts to. And they found every one of them and locked them up. If they want to find you in this day and age, they can and they will. And again, that assumes that you're the winner of this contest. Your potential losses, you might lose teeth, you might lose eyes. I knew a guy that got in a fist fight. He was an athletic guy, the guy that I knew. Got in a fist fight over some girl, and the guy he was fighting tried to bite his finger off because he was being choked out. And that human bite caused such an infection, it just about killed him. He was laid up in the hospital for, I can't remember how long. I mean, it was touch and go there for a couple, 3 days. There's hospital stays if you lose. And that comes with money, of course. So now you've got a financial penalty and you lost the fight. And maybe you're laid up in the hospital and your employer isn't going to give you any time off. You're trying to explain your way out of this thing. And a potential job loss. Further financial damages. And the heaviest fine that can be imposed, potentially, a loss of life. Yours. There are people that say there is never a good reason to fight, ever. I would disagree with that. I mean, if your family is at risk or your life is at risk, you better be prepared to fight, and you better know what you're doing. This business of fighting just to test out the sports car, let's see what we're made of. I'm 20 years old, and I've been working out. I'm ready to test out the sports car and see what we get. That's a bad idea. That is a very bad idea with potentially life-altering consequences. Very likely life-altering consequences. There is almost always a way out of fighting. Some of the toughest guys on the planet and some of the, competent in physical combat sports have said, I'll do anything to get out of a fight outside of a ring, because there's just so many things beyond your control, and the consequences can be so detrimental. And that's the truth. I mean, what is it going to hurt you to I don't want to fight you, dude. Oh, you're a insert word. You're a wimp. Look at you, you coward. You're right, man. All right. And then you go off later and say, yeah, but I might have saved my life. Or there's the rare breed that's honest enough to say, man, I ain't no fighter. I ain't fighting nobody. At least you're honest about it and you're smart enough to know that. It's a different world now. And I'm throwing this out there as well because although most of what I've said is quite accurate, you really ought to keep your head on a swivel, because there are people that don't know enough to use their head, and people want to escalate things so quickly, and there's others just goading them on so they can catch it on camera and post it. People flipping out at restaurants and public places. You'd never think of something, in decades prior, you'd never think of a fight breaking out at church or freaking Golden Corral or, and yet here we are. Then you have a not insignificant portion of society that's all hopped up on some kind of psychotropic medication. They might not even be in their right mind. My advice would be to do your best to stay out of this. And again, sounds pretty hypocritical of me, having taken part in a lot of it, and willingly and eagerly and stupidly. when I was young, but it's not the same world. It was stupid then. It's ridiculous now. And the dues that you're potentially going to pay just aren't worth it. For what? Over a girl? Over a, I don't know, a buddy? Very few, like I said, your personal family. But we need to have our heads on a swivel when people talk about situational awareness, and that has never been more accurate than it is now. Always looking, always watching, always gauging who can handle himself best in a fight, in your amateur estimation. And what if one breaks out? That should be your first. If you're going to restaurants, I don't recommend going to bars. And I went to enough for both of us, both you and me and Bobby McGee. You ain't missing nothing, man. But again, it's easy for an old dude to say that, and it's different when you're young and you're looking and you got the testosterone going and you want to see what's out there for girls and where are we supposed to meet girls at. It's not gonna be at a bar, and if you're gonna meet your wife in a bar, that's probably not a great idea, but that's a whole other video topic, maybe. It's potentially bad business, and it's very easily can you arrive at this potential, and I highly recommend against it. If you got any comments, you can put them in the comment section. I always read them. I like the discourse. I do thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.